The year 2021 has been the best year for Triumph in India since its inception. That isn't easy at all considering the fact that we were battling a freaking pandemic. The most interesting part is this bike, the Trident 660, has been a significant volume contributor for that. Triumph wanted to leverage the beautiful 3-cylinder engine of Trident into the Adventure series. We love the Trident so much that that's a recipient of the Shutterdrives Bike of the Year 2021. And yes, we have that beautiful engine into their Adventure series in the form of the Tiger Sport 660. How good is it? Is it worth the premium of 1.5 lakhs over the Trident? Of course, they are segments apart, but still, can it compete with the Kawasaki's and the Suzuki's of today? We are here at the same place exactly where we rode the Trident few months ago to find that out for you. Hello and welcome back to Shutterdrives. This is Zahur Hassan. The Tigers have always been great lookers. I'm not talking about the animals, I'm talking about the bikes from the Triumph's family. And this, the Tiger Sport 660, goes slightly deviated from that typical tradition, and it gets the most number of creases in the entire Tiger family, and that's for a good reason because this looks really nice and sporty, especially in this lovely shade of blue. Apart from this, you do get two other color options. One is red and one is grey, and in our opinion we would definitely pick this over the other two. So talking about the headlamps, it gets a full complete LED headlamp setup. We are waiting eagerly to check out the intensity of these headlamps shortly in another hour when it gets darker in Dehradun. And apart from that, these are the indicators which are self-cancelling, which means that turn on the indicators, take the turn, and you don't have to turn them off again. They're going to do them by self. Very intelligent and extremely helpful, especially for someone like me who tends to forget to turn off indicators, as lame as it may sound, but yes, that's a fact. Apart from that, you get the 17 inches of alloy wheels and more importantly dual disc brakes in the front and single disc in the rear. And these dual disc brakes are assisted by Nissin calipers, and you get twin upside down USD shocks which are Showa shocks. And apart from that, you do get an windshield which is one of the signature legacies of the Tiger family, and this windshield of course is adjustable. The height that you see right now here in the video is the maximum position, and you can push it all the way downwards and upwards. We kind of like that this windshield remains in the highest position. That's when it looks more aggressive, more adventurous, doing some justice to the nice big bulky proportions of the bike. Talking about the bulky proportions, this bike is relatively heavy at 206 kgs, but trust me on this bike is lighter than the competition, that is both the Kawasaki and Suzuki rivals, the direct competitors. Not just that, it unfortunately turns out to be pricier, which we're going to talk later. We are of course going to tell you during the course of the video what has changed in the Tiger Sport compared to the Trident, because you see 1.5 lakh rupees of difference when you're talking about introductory prices is significant, and we need to know what's changed here. For starters, what's not changed is the engine remains exactly the same, 81 bhp of power and 64 Nm of torque, which is carried over exactly from the Trident. The same legendary 3-cylinder engine from Trident is carried over. Even the RPM levels where we get the peak power and peak torque exactly remain the same, and there's absolutely no difference. We had a single monoshock doing the suspension duties for the Trident, doing the heavy lifting there, and the same single monoshock has been carried over to the Tiger Sport 660 as well. Apart from that, this being a bike which is focused slightly towards mild off-roading to serious off-roading, you do get adjustable suspension here for pre-road. So moving to the rear of the Tiger Sport 660, the first thing that you instantly realize is it's very sharp. The design is quite sharp here, especially the placement of indicators and of course the stoppage lamp and things like that. And you have the grab rails here which are very sturdy, and this bike is dependent on the superb Michelin Road 5 tires. And apart from that, one interesting bit to note here is the comfort of this seat. We have been riding this bike say for 6 to 7 hours in these hills of Dehradun, and it's very tireless. It's a perfect adventure tourer in terms of the comfort ability that is there in this bike. Of right from the start, the Tiger Sport feels extremely easy to handle. It immediately gives you an impression of lightness and ease of maneuvering. The power mill is aimed at boosting low end torque, which is a perfect ingredient for off-roading. It's good throughout the rev band. 90% of the peak torque kicks in from 3600 rpm. In fact, it's precisely this extraordinary flat torque curve that is the secret of the extremely pleasant ride from the iconic 3-pot motor. Although the Tiger Sport loves to be revved, honestly, it's not the motorcycle that you want to be pushed really hard in corners. Power delivery is gentle during the initial throttle opening. That is perfect for new and inexperienced riders. Do note that the rain mode incidentally softens the power delivery even further, making it conservative. That said, if there's something that has a room for improvement from a rideability perspective, it has to be the braking at the rear. The brakes on a particular motorcycle unit lacked the outright bite and the bike was prone to fishtailing, hence we had to shift the dependencies on the front brakes. So this is a 17 liters of tank, and Triumph claims that the full range here is 30 kilometers, but again it depends on the conditions, and in real world conditions you can expect somewhere around 300. The riding position, like I said earlier, is very comfortable, just that the seat height is 835 millimeter, which could be a slight concern, which means that you can lower the seat by 25 millimeter more, which is a big advantage for someone who wishes to keep their foot completely on the ground when they're riding the motorcycle. So talking about the handlebar is nice. It's actually very comfortable to hold this, sit like this and ride for a long time, like we said. And this is slip and assist clutch, which is available only as an accessory in the Tiger Sport 660. These are multitude of switches that you get here to control the instrument cluster, which we're going to talk about right now. One important thing to note here is the Trident got a brilliant instrument cluster when the bike was launched last year, and Triumph wanted to leverage that, and they have carried over the same instrument cluster here, but in a slightly different format. That is, the display is slightly different, but you get the same information in this instrument cluster that you get in the instrument cluster of the Trident, exactly the same. So getting straight away into the IC, that is the instrument cluster, you have the riding modes here, that is rain and road. Choose whatever you feel like. Of course, you're going to get better grip in the rain mode. And this is the bike setup where you can actually turn off the traction control if you feel like, and these are something different what I told you, that is self-cancelling indicators can be turned on or turned off. Apart from that, the typical trip setup, display setup, the brightness and trip meters. And one thing that's kind of nice is you can change the language here of the instrument cluster, which is a neat touch. Of course, this is the Bluetooth connectivity. We have paired our phone here, and the pairing is not exactly seamless because especially if you're an Apple user, you might have to fiddle a lot. But however, for Android users, this might not be much of a problem. Showa suspension controls the springs at each end. There's preload adjustment for the front. That's a fairly impressive setup for this type of bike. The turn-in is quick and precise, and it follows the lines and curves diligently. It's quick but never nervous in changing directions. Should you decide to get ambitious with it on broken roads, you wouldn't be happiest of all when you go back home, as the bumps from the craters manage to traverse from the Michelins to the rider. We rode for 210 kilometers to be precise, in the mountains engulfing Rishikesh and Dehradun, most of which was on the hairpin-laden twists. In fact, we encountered 183 of them in 47 kilometers. Not once did the Tiger kiss its pegs, view, or do anything that diluted our confidence. So, does the premium of 1.5 lakh rupees for the Tiger Sport 660 or the Trident 660 make sense? Honestly, we shouldn't be addressing that. What we should care more about is, does this bike make sense over its competition? Does this bike make sense as a product for 8.95 lakh rupees ex-showroom, that too introductory? Let's get the good bits first. The bike is supremely comfortable, and I really mean it. This is the most comfortable bike you're going to ride in this segment, that's for sure, without a second thought. And of course, not just that, it's tech loaded. You have turn button navigation, you have Bluetooth connectivity, and oodles of features that can leave you happy when you are doing a long distance trip to Ladakh or Spiti or something else. But the biggest concern here from the consumer's point of view has to be the price, because at 8.95 lakh rupees, that introductory, the price is going to cross $1 million easily in every Indian city. That makes it the most expensive product in the segment. But that said, this should, together with the Trident 660, help Triumph establish their footprints in India that they have been long wanting. Triumph has had a very successful year, like we said in the starting of the video. This is going to just exaggerate it further in a good way. That's it, guys. If you guys like the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and follow us on Instagram. Take care, drive safe. See you soon in another review.